Hey, what's up, y'all? This is your girl Diamond. This is a treat for me because this person is somebody that I have admired and have seen in the community since I was a teenager. And when I started any show, any kind of archive that I've done, this person has always been at the top of the list of who I wanted to talk to and who I wanted to share their experience with my audience from the time when I was a YouTuber, from the time that now on the podcast. I have always loved her. She has always been one of my favorite entertainers. And so I knew eventually what happened. I just had to be patient. and it is the amazing, incomparable, legendary Tommie Ross.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much, Simon. Thank you.
Oh my gosh. So Tommie Ross she's very selective about, what pageants, what she enters in. So a lot of people, a lot of times say, she's won all the titles, but actually she hasn't, because she hasn't been in she hasn't wanted to be in every system. But some of the systems that she has won is Miss Continental back in 1999. She has won
1988.
Was that Continental
Right.
88?
I'm sorry. And you're right. I'm sorry. 1999.
I'm like, no, I did I do my research wrong? I'm like, oh, so Continental in 1999, Miss US of A in 1988, and Miss Black America. What year was Black America?
Black America was 2000 and 2006 or 2000, 2004. 2004, and then Sweetheart was 2006.
2006, Miss Globe, Miss Texas.
1987.
Miss Houston.
Yes.
Yes. So she has so many titles under her belt. And when you think about the upper echelon of who are the people, if you want to be in drag, who are the people that you're standing on their shoulders, you cannot mention or not think about Tommie Ross. And so and this is for people who are not even drag connoisseurs. Like, some of us is like, we in there, but some of us, if you, any type of situation that if you think about who is the top girls, you think about Tommie Ross. That's that, you get what I'm saying? You amongst other people, but I'm like, especially for a Black girl.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you.
When did you get started in drag, and how did the whole process of you becoming this type of entertainer?
Before going to the 12th grade, three of my friends, we discovered this club, which was called the Cove Disco. And it was right there behind the Alabama Theater. So we would go every weekend and sit in the parking lot and just watch all the all the stuff going on. So one day we ventured in, and it was on a Sunday night, and it was a show. So it was my first time ever seeing a drag show. And I saw the likes of people who are now gone on, but like Donna Day, that was my first time ever seeing Donna Day. And from that very moment, even though I was frightened, it lit a spark in me. And I said, oh, well, this is what I'd be doing at the house, in the bathroom, with the brush.
With the brush.
Yeah, right, with the brush and the towel on my head for my hair. These people are doing this on stage and they're getting paid. So all during my 12th grade year in high school, I just thought about, oh, this is a thing. So we started going to the Studio 13, going to the Cove Disco, and from there, the Copa, which was on Richmond, where Donna Day, Hot Chocolate, Naomi Sims, and Tasha Cole, they performed, and they were called the Fabulous Four. We'll go there on Sunday nights. And I started entering the talent nights there. They had this talent night I think it was Thursday, and you would win the talent night. Then all 4 or 5 weeks would get together and win the month. I won my talent night, then I won my month, And then they had a big thing at the end of the year called Entertainer of the Year. And I won that. So basically, my career started by me just doing talent nights. And then Donna Day put me in Miss Texas after probably my third time on stage, which was here in Dallas, Texas. But I was, no. She definitely saw something in me that nobody else saw.
Speaking of Donna Day, I know she is somebody, that inspired your drag career. But who, when you were growing up prior to this, who was loving on you? Who was taking care of you? Who was, tell me about your family unit. Tell me about growing up as a kid.
Well, I was the only child between my father and mother, so didn't realize until after I got grown and realized what the definition of things were. I did have a privileged life. Like I had a loving example of what a union should be. I I grew up with respect of everybody. So when I ventured into this arena of our LGBTQ, it made me aware of people's boundaries and people's respect because that's what I was taught at home. Um, didn't know anything about transgender. So unfortunately, but fortunately, I did not know the whole thing about transgender. So for my adult life, I mislabeled myself as gay for such a long, long time. But had I always had questions on why me and my gay. I never really connected all the way with my gay friends. It wasn't until I got at a certain age where I realized, oh, I'm not like my gay friends. I'm transgender. So it made perfect sense to me. But I always tell people, and I was just telling my niece on yesterday, if I had knew what transgender was at an earlier age, I would have did the whole process, but I would have missed Tommie Ross. So this journey that Tommie Ross has had, I wouldn't have got that if I would have knew what transgender was earlier, if that makes sense.
No, that makes total sense. How has it been seeing that shift in culture where we didn't have the language in the past? I know I transitioned in the 90s, and even then there was, you get what I'm saying, you saw the girls and it was, there wasn't a lot of resources, there wasn't a lot of things to kind of explain, particularly a hood Black girl who didn't have access to like doctors, who didn't have access, we didn't have insurance and stuff like that. My mom, was a hood girl. She didn't have all that kind of stuff. So
Right.
I didn't. There was no access to these medical terms like transsexual and transgender and stuff like that for my mom to pass to me, or for anybody really to pass to me. How I learned about transness was actually sneaking into the gay club as a gay boy, and
Exactly.
then in having that exact feeling. I was a teenager though, but I was like, yo, I yes, I know that I'm thinking that I'm a gay boy, but I'm looking around and I don't relate to the gay boys in the same way that everybody else seems to do.
Exactly.
I relate to the girls, and I relate to the identity, and that resonated more with me than than just being a gay man in the world. And as soon as I saw that, like as soon as I saw it, I didn't even go back to the gay club as a boy. I always was diamond for the rest of the time. I never went back, and never, because that resonated with me so heavily. So I totally understand that. Tell me about that, how that culture shift happened for you, where you started to learn about being trans and seeing the shift in how people talked about it within the gay community.
Well, in 1978, when I did go to the club for the first night on that Sunday, I also saw this entertainer named Champagne, who was a transsexual. But of course, back then I didn't know what she was, but all I knew was she was heavenly beautiful. Everything about her screamed woman. It wasn't until years later that I knew, oh, that's what she was. So all during my high school year of And like I said, I identified as gay. I identified as gay. It wasn't until in the 80s where I started really understanding and knowing things about trans people. However, because I had been in that gay mode for so long, it was frightening. It was frightening to eventually say, this is who I am and this is how I want to live my life. Because also my friends did not understand that about me. So a lot of my friends, even though they never verbally said it, I could see the shift in the relationship and the way that they looked at me and treated me. So eventually, some of my friends that had been in my little circle forever, eventually we kind of weaned off from one another because I had to do what I had to do. You know, no
And there
regrets.
is a separation that happens once you decide that, yo, my gender identity is this, and it started to be this I don't know, this social difference. Even, a lot of people who are ignorant conflate gender identity and sexual orientation, but there is a social thing that happens when you are like somebody else. Like when you have your gay friends and y'all are young and kind of early exploring the world, and y'all both seem in the moment, y'all seem like, okay, we are both gay boys and da 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 da. And then when one of y'all kind of shift to this other level, and the other one doesn't understand, it can cause this kind of clash. It can cause, and maybe not necessarily a clash, but causes to feel like, oh, you're not a part of my tribe anymore.
Or it can also, if you aren't really aware of who you are, it can implement self doubt. It can make you start to question who you are and are you are you really what you say you are, or is this a phase because nobody else sees it? Nobody else in your circle is relating to what you're saying because you are saying you feel a certain way, but they're saying you just like boys or you're just a sissy or whatever. Always knew that that was not the case because whenever my friends, my gay friends, would come back and tell about their escapades with the boys, and this, I never indulged in that. I never saw any kiki in that because I looked at that as that's what men do. Men talk about their conquers and things of that nature. Women, kind of everything is private. So
And it's a level of I know me growing up, because I grew up in a church, going to church, and I didn't have the lived experiences to informed womanhood in the same way that maybe a cisgender girl did. So I thought the way a woman was supposed to be was based on those rules that I learned in church. You're supposed to be respectable. You're supposed to be classy. You're supposed to be graceful. You're supposed to be elegant. And one of the pillars of womanhood in the church is that if you don't have a man, you chase. You get what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying? It's a certain level of mystery that you need to have. And
right,
so I totally understand that that is the type of woman. Now, of course, when you get older, you learn as a trans woman that particular entity is not for us, because
exactly,
as a trans woman, you can't be respectable, because you can technically, but to the world, just because you are trans, you are a sex object, you're a prostitute, you are not
exactly.
the respectable thing. And so growing up, I realized that, oh, I don't have even access to what this dream that I was thinking that I was gonna be. I thought I was gonna get a boyfriend, fall in love, lose my virginity, all this amazing thing that the cisgender girls do. But that's not for you, baby girl. That's not the reality of the world.
Right, exactly.
So, did you find any like love interests when you were going in that early stage? Did you find people who were, seeing you for the woman that you were?
Yes, yes, and I always gravitated, and they gravitated to me, guys who they would think it would be their first encounter with a gay boy, but in actuality, it was me. So because I was trans, but I had the book cover didn't match the content. That's why we were able to connect in that type of way. I've never been attracted to gay boys. It's always been the guys who identified or thought of themselves as heterosexual. So it made perfect sense to me.
And even in that regard, I know growing up, as when you come into your womanhood, a lot of time, because everybody is trying to claim that this isn't right, this is a phase, blah 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 blah. Even your queer friends is like, you just like boys, and da da da. Like you just said earlier, there is this sense of, I know in my engagement with men, there was this sense of urgent rebuttal, like urgent, like I'm a woman, you a man, and this is what we're supposed to do. I'm supposed to do the girl stuff, you supposed to do the boy stuff, because doing anything outside of that would be counterproductive to what I was trying to prove to everybody. Everything was about, to me, about proving my womanhood to them. So I had the perfect explanation. I want you to, even though I know what I got down there and da 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 da, this is how we're supposed to act. How we're supposed to present into the world is exactly like cis heteronormative people, cis het people who are, the woman does this, the man does this. Even walking on the side of the street, when we were walking down the street, where you're supposed to walk and how you're supposed to treat me, opening the doors, and this kind of romanticized engagement, social engagement. And so I would want the dudes who would see my womanhood and treat me like a girl, treat me exactly how I wanted to be treated. But then I started to learn that started to be just performative, just a performative
Right.
kind of a situation. How did you navigate that kind of space?
Well, like I said, because of the guys that were attracted to me and the ones that I was attracted to, they only dealt with girls. So they treated me like a girl. Even before my transition, they opened the door for me. They treated me like a girl. And because of that, I never had that tug of war thing with them. It wasn't until I really started transitioning, and then a lot of the trans chasers came along, and then that was a whole nother mental thing that I had to deal with, because then I understood, now since my book cover is matching what my content is, my book cover is attracting people with fetishes. So it's not me that they're wanting to get to know, it's they want to explore and see what I have. And that was a little well, not a little, that was a turn off, and still is.
Jarring.
It's like our estimate. So would you walk up to a woman and ask a woman what you just asked me? Because they would say, are you functional? Just
How big is it?
rude.
How big is it?
Yes.
How are you functional? Does it work? Are you on them hormones that's making it not work? Are you can you fuck me?
Yes. And but I had to realize and learn that a lot of times men who are really gay, but still are maneuvering in the heterosexual world, this is a way for them to satisfy their urges and still feel okay about it because she looks like a woman. But
I call it using us as a gateway to their homosexuality.
Exactly.
And that's not everybody. I do believe that I meet genuine men who, because of how they met me, they didn't meet me from no ad, they didn't meet me from no gay bar, they met me out in the world, at the grocery store, at the mall, at the, you know, wherever I'm at, and they literally see and acknowledge the woman that I am. They don't know what I am in regards to my history, but they are seeing who I am presenting to the world, and that is what they're responding to. It's not about a fetish or anything like that. They're responding to the actual woman that they see.
And they grow to love you as who you are. And because they are loving you, they want to love you. And they begin to accept everything and realize that certain parts are what gives a person pleasure, and they learn to respect all of that. So yes, I totally get it.
You come from a time where drag wasn't so cookie cutter. There was no YouTube videos to teach you how to paint. There wasn't even like the video of the artist to kind of mimic their look and mimic their dances and mimic their whole persona. You come from a time where, you know, when y'all performed, you had to it was a direct result of your own personal creativity.
Exactly.
And I think that that's what we're missing. There now we have a glimpse of people who are really kind of you know, creative and doing their own thing, but you know, now because drag has become this big cultural thing with, you know, like RuPaul's Drag Race and da 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 da. Can you tell me about your experience in your career, how you've seen this shift in technology, this shift, what is the negative side of what is happening, and what is the positive side of what is happening with drag as an art?
Well, I will say, like you just mentioned, I did start my career in a time when we didn't even have music videos. So therefore, it means that drag, you had to listen to a song. Well, not everybody did, but you had to listen to a song and basically recreate that song on stage. And for me, I wanted to always tell a story. So therefore, I pretended as if my audience could not hear, and I had to basically symbolize and mimic what the words were saying so that they could visually understand what I was doing. And I do believe that back then it was harder to create a number based on just music. But I also think nowadays for some of these kids who can take a video and mimic the exact same thing, that's hard. That's hard. It's not easy, but that's really hard to like do a whole Beyonce thing. I could never do that. So I applaud them. But I do believe that whole storytelling, letting it be organic thing is kind of missing nowadays. I really do.
Totally.
And I miss it.
What about the term drag and female impersonator? If I'm female impersonator is kind of becoming, when I'm listening to people talk about it, it's coming kind of antiquated. It feels uncomfortable to some people. I hear some people still using it, but what do you think about it? What is the legendary Tommie Ross opinion on those terms and that difference?
I've been on the side of when I first started, I was a drag queen. I went through my phase of thinking I was that. I was a female. I was no longer a drag queen. I was a female impersonator because that's what I did. I impersonated females. Then I came to realize that's what I do though. I do drag. So now I'm able to embrace that. I am a pre-op transsexual who happens to have a career in drag. And I'm okay with that. So it doesn't matter if someone says female impersonator or drag. You know, it is what it is.
And I liken that to Black people. When we think about the language that labels us,
Negro, Negro, Black, Afro-American, Black American, you know, just, yeah.
All of that. I remember I was watching this documentary of the legendary civil rights icon Polly Murray, and when she was a professor at Brandeis College, that she used to call, because she comes from early 1900 time in the 20s and the 30s and the 40s. Right. Negro was not something negative to them. And so
Right.
when they start calling themselves Black, she was against it. She was like, I'm not calling myself Black. In the students in the younger students, when she was a professor, was like, why this woman keep calling us Negroes? We don't do that no more. We Black. And, it was Black was the up and coming word. And there was like a generational clash when it was, when it comes to that language, because when she was growing up, Negro was the word.
Even to piggyback off of that, when as a country we start getting into the African American, for a long time I had the hardest problem in embracing the word African because of what I was taught in school. All I saw Africans were these barefoot, you know, horrible like things because of what my teachings were. But now, oh, child, African American is truly what I am, and I can't wait. That's my ultimate visit, is to go back to the motherland. Soon as I step off the plane, take my shoes off and stick my feet in the dirt. I cannot wait, and I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. So yeah, I do know how we have shifted in our culture and the way that we claim, like the word N word. I use it. I use it because they made it what it was, which was meant death, horrible, this, that, and the other. We took it, we finagled it to the point to where we could embrace it. So I'm not giving it up. And I use it both ways, in a good term and a bad term, but it's mine and it's my choice.
Facts. Nigga, you better get the fuck up out of my face.
Hello. Hello.
I will wear it out. It's just a part of who I, especially growing up in the Southern culture. I grew up in the Midwest, but all my family were from Mississippi. They were from the South, Alabama, Georgia. They were from these places that's just a part of our culture. And it's not saying that, things shouldn't shift, but that's just something I'm like,
Right.
it is what it is.
Yep, I agree.
Drag has been an art form for centuries, and trans women have molded the drag culture alongside of gay men. It
Right.
has always been a staple form of entertainment. It has always been in our particular community. It has been a staple form of inspiration to the mainstream pop culture to steal ideas from. It has been and little do people know, it has actually been a staple form of fundraising. When we talk about raising money to like renovate a city's only gay bar, when we think about raising money to for funeral costs for somebody who doesn't have insurance, who died, particularly around like the AIDS epidemic, it was always a subculture thing that it and if you think about it, it was a subculture thing that even cis women will pull out of their conversation to show how woke they were in accepting, queer people. They would be like, "Oh yeah, I'm down. I done been to the drag bar. I used to, do you go to the shows, whatever your show club is in your city?"
Right.
The cisgender girls will say, "Oh, I used to go to such and such Joni's Closet or or whatever the Rose and
Right. Right.
whatever your particular club." That's what cis women will say to show that I am in alignment with accepting you, and no matter how true or untrue that is, they would pull that out of their hat. So drag has always been something that has been a part of our culture. And particularly I remember early times in like early 1800s, and just us accounting balls and drag balls and stuff like that. And now it has, fast forward to now 2022, it with with the popularity of drag race, drag has become this pop culture phenomenon. And I thought it was quite interesting when there was this debate about RuPaul not allowing trans women to be on the show. And because for me, growing up, there was no drag without trans women. They were there. Yes, was it gay men in doing it as well that would, be a boy in the daytime and then drag? Yes, it was totally that. But what people didn't understand in our culture was there was different sectors. There was, there was Continental being the more um what we would call the fish pageant.
Exactly.
It was the more fish pageant. You had to be fish, you had to be soft, you had to be passable to win Continental usually. And so then you had the America girl who was the more the boy queen going to a girl queen. Then you
Drag,
had US
right.
of A, which was it could be anything, but it was more like fabulous. And in regards to that, we had different sectors, and RuPaul comes from that gay America sector. He come from that. And so that type of drag that can't be, you could be a boy, and that kind of stuff. So tell me your opinion when that was going on. What was your opinion about that?
My opinion was always, whose show is it? Whose show is it? That would be like someone starting a show, starting something that was just about square boxes. And it had been going on for a long time. And all of a sudden, people with circles wanted to integrate into the box just because. But that's not the premise of what the show is. The show is about square boxes. So why would you integrate round circles into square boxes? So if he started a show about drag, boys dressing up as girls, and that's what it was, why all of a sudden later would you start saying he was being anti because he wasn't letting trans women go on the show? Because then how would trans women, you know how they do the untucked portion. So would a trans woman feel comfortable in the untucked segment? Even and the word of long is offensive. So we were trying to integrate ourselves into places that weren't really for us. And we don't have to be everywhere. That was a certain thing that was set for that particular thing. But now, these years later, he has kind of softened that. But you just can't make somebody else rearrange their dream because you feel a certain way, especially when it's water or food. It's not a necessity. You know what I'm saying?
So I get what you're saying. It is his show. He can do whatever the fuck he want to do. Yeah. For me, it felt it I don't know. Because I'm a drag connoisseur. I care about drag, and it had got so popular, and it had become this big thing. It did feel like, how can you talk about the history of drag? How can you celebrate this art form and totally exclude trans drag queens? I don't know. It felt uncomfortable. Yes, I get that this is his show, but it's like, how you respecting this art form and not including the girls?
The exact same way Miss America, the gay Miss America pageant, which is the mothership of pageants, that's how it all started, doesn't allow that. But he allows you to have a seal from the neck up. Seal from the neck up, but no seal from the neck down. But that's how Norma Christie saw that vision. So I did not have an issue with RuPaul. And, I do believe it was because RuPaul wanted to be, and this is just, it probably was vain, wanted to be the diva and didn't want to share that spotlight because he knew when some trans girls came on there, they were gonna steal some of that spotlight. So I didn't have an issue with it, and I still don't. And it is what it is. It was apples and oranges to me.
One of the things that that people would say, do you think it's because you come from a different generation that
of course
is okay?
Oh, of course. I come from, like I said, I come from a generation where if something is set in stone, it's respected that way. This new generation, which I also love though, is that no, I don't think so. Because if it hadn't been for this new generation, if it had been the old generation, when we saw George Floyd murdered on Memorial Day, the old generation would have sat back and complained at home because it was in the midst of COVID. But the young generation said, no, no, ma'am. And they marched and they rallied, they united. So I do believe that this new generation of wanting to buck systems and things is a good thing. But I also believe we have to pick and choose what we feel is really important. And like I said, drag race is not water, air, or food. It's not a necessity. You can survive without it.
That is coming from somebody who has built a career in this industry without the help of a national syndication of TV. Now, when girls coming into the game, they are like, ooh, I gotta get on RuPaul Drag Race so I can get this, so I can, then I can really turn it into something, blah, blah, blah. This is what you did. This is your profession. This is what you do for a living, that you have built a whole fan base all over this globe. And so, I think nowadays people are like, oh, this is the way you get into it. This is how I can do. And I think that that's another thing that's a little different too.
I agree. And I believe that social media has created microwaved celebrities. And when someone is a microwave celebrity, just like when you put food in the microwave, it's hot on the outside, but it cools down really fast on the inside. So for all those ones who are famous, because and people are realizing too, the more controversial you are, the more people gravitate to that. So some people who are really nice off of the camera create this persona so that people will gravitate to that. And I'm definitely not one who's willing to shift who I am in order to fit in or receive likes.
Amen. So what's next for you? As somebody who has achieved so much in your career, what are you trying to do now? What is your dreams?
This is a selfish plug. But on July 13th in Houston, Texas, at the ballroom at Bayou Place, we're having a Studio 13 reunion. And Studio 13, a gay club that was from 1985 through 1992, but it went on, but the building stayed there until 1995. So within 10 years, and that's where so many LGBTQ plus people came through, people like Amazing Grace, Chevelle Brooks, Portia Paris. So it just has this history of greatness. So Sophia McIntosh and myself decided we want to have a reunion. So that's when I'm in the midst, her and I are in the midst of creating this big thing. So that's what's on my plate now. And I've been kidding with, and Sophia telling her on the 14th, I'm gonna need the ambulance sitting outside so that when this function is over, I'm just marching myself outside, calling the ambulance to tell them, take me and put some IVs in me because I need my strength back. Because it's like, I've told people this is like my biggest passion I've ever gotten ready for. And anybody who knows how my preparation is prepared just know I tunnel vision and I focus. So that's what's big on my plate right now. I want people to enjoy this experience. July 13th.
July 13th, and the Bayou,
the ballroom at Bayou Place.
The Bayou. That's downtown in the theater district?
Yes.
So make sure y'all check it out.
Please come and check it out.
If Tommie is organizing it, it's going to be entertaining. It's going to be top level entertainment. So I definitely will be there.
Awesome.
Tell the people where they can find you.
because I'm old school, because I'm old school. I have problems even zooming into this Zoom because I'm old school. But I'm on Facebook, which is Tommie Ross, and I do have, what is it called?
Instagram.
Instagram. But I have it, but I haven't been there forever. So this is where I'm at. I'm on Facebook, and I respond to every message. I What I'm doing is on there. So just hit me up, talk to me.
Well, Tommy, you have made one of my dreams come true. Like I said, my first time seeing you. Well, when it comes to drag, you are an icon that has. I remember when I sued my high school in 1999 to go to the prom in a gown. That summer, I went to the Baton. That was in June. The end of that summer, the Baton, the Continental has every Labor Day. I went to the Baton, and you won your title
Oh
that year.
wow.
And
Right.
so this is out. I was 18, and it's one of those years that I just fell in love with drag, and you were a part of that. You were a part of my memory, and I appreciate you. This was a dream come true. Thank you for joining me.
Well, thank you so much. I'm humbled beyond words. Like I told you off camera, even though I've been doing this for eons, 40 plus years, I'm still nervous and shy about this because my persona, my fame, or whatever is only because of the perception of other people. And I understand that and I realize that. So I'm always humbled when somebody sees what I've done or am doing and they are appreciative of it. It just humbles me. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you. So I will have all of her links down in the bottom, and make sure you go support her. Let her know where that you heard the interview, and I will see y'all next week. Thank you for joining us. This has been Marsha's Play. Have a wonderful day.
And don't forget to vote, people.
Oh, go take y'all ass to vote. They are attacking trans children and their parents and all this kind of stuff. Make sure you vote. Absolutely.
Exactly.
All right, Tommy. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Loved it.
Mwah. Thank you for watching this video. Make sure you thumbs up and share it to other people. And also make sure you have subscribed and hit the notification bell, because I am going to continue to expand this transgender archive of interviews, and I don't want you to miss it. We're going to have more to come. Make sure you follow me down on Instagram, Facebook, and all that other kind of social media stuff. All those links is down at the bottom. See you there.